Hey guys, today I'm here with Mary. She has very beautiful hair, ultra thick, and I can't wait to color it. It's pretty much a level 2 with some pre-existing lightness through it ends. So today we want to create like a semi-dimensional blonde brunette color. I kind of want to keep it focused on placement and high impact so you can see dimension throughout her color. So I'm going to go in with a new O&M Super 7, which now contains silica for a creamier and thicker consistency so your foils don't slip. I'm going to mix it at a ratio of 1:2, and of course I'm going to add in Core Restore to protect the integrity of the hair. So let's get into it. So I'm going to be using the Super 7, the new formula which contains silica for a thicker, creamier consistency to prevent slippage in your highlights. So I'm going to mix it 1:2. For my highlight, I'm going to use equal parts 5 volume and 10 volume. And of course, I'm going to add in Core Restore. The reason why you should use Core Restore in all of your lightening services is because 11 of the 19 amino acids are found in Core Restore, forming the amino chain technology. The amino chain technology helps to relink broken bonds and to repair the structure of the hair. For the tip out, it's really important that you bump up your volume. The reason you want to do that is because the head produces a lot of heat. So particularly with extra long hair, you want to bump up that volume, maybe 1 or 2 levels. So I'm going to bump it all the way up to 20 volume so it lifts at the same rate as the highlight. I'm also going to mix that 1:2 and I'm going to add in Core Restore. I'm going to start highlighting around the face first and work in full and complete halves. I like to start around the face first because it gives me more control over the end result and how strong or not strong I want my face frame to be. Once I finish off the face frame and neckline, then I'll connect the back to the front. So when I'm highlighting hair that's this dark on the face frame, I always want to leave a little bit of hair in front of the first highlight. For me, it just blends out better, it grows out better, and it just doesn't look as harsh. We're not going ultra light today. We still want to feel like brunette-ish, maybe blonde-ish, but I am going to do my highlights relatively textural straight away. I don't want them too fine because they will be invisible, and we don't like invisible highlights. And when I am working on a base this dark, my goal is never to lift it out to a level 9. You're going to struggle getting enough warmth back into the hair. I really only want to lift it to a level 8. One of the reasons why I blend up like that when I'm working on a base this dark is so that I create a warm area. So by blending up and not saturating as much, you're actually going to create like a band almost, but it's going to be in your favor because when you shadow down over the top of that, you're giving an anchor for your root shadow to hold onto, and I guarantee it will last longer. When I'm working on the face frame here, I really want to make sure that while I want a stronger face frame, but soft as well, I'm leaving in dimension in the hair. One way I do that is by pivoting my section. So even though I started like this, I've started to pivot around and I'm almost parallel to her part line. On this highlight here, you can see that I've created a pivot section, so it's skinnier at the front and thicker towards the back. What that will do is create a stronger ribbon highlight from this point here, and then there'll be depth in behind it to increase the strength and brightness of that one. Now that I have enough density through the tip here, we can decide if we want to do a full tip or a half tip. So a full tip for me is when I tease the entire piece and keep all of the hair in the ends. A half tip is when I weave and then tease. I think with this density of hair and this texture, you have a lot of density in the mid area and a little less for the tip. So I'm actually going to hold the tip and push all that hair away. For me, I just really like how it looks when you get that really gorgeous tip and it's nice and full. When you don't have someone holding your tip, which I normally do, I'll just hand paint it first, saturate the tip, and then just sweep that back up into the tease. My biggest tip with tip outs is not to take them too high. If you take them too high, you're actually going to unbalance the color. You need to rely on your highlights to create dimension in your mid, and your tip should be kept in your tip, not in your mid. So now that I've done the first part of the face frame, I'm going to move around to the neckline and connect it together. Just because you did a tip out at the front doesn't mean you need to do a tip out at the back, but you do need some form of connection. So I'm going to go pretty deep in this area to make sure that I have connection through to the ends. So whenever I do that, I make sure that there's enough density in the ends to connect it through. I would advise to push some of it away so you don't over highlight the root area. I'm not going to highlight all the way to the root because I want to maintain some depth in there, which will create contrast to the face frame. So I'm keeping the lightness through to the mids and ends. Through the neckline here, if I had to choose a number of highlights I was going to do on anyone's head, it'd probably be 3. Once I've done 3 highlights, I then move around and connect the front face frame. The amount of hair I put into the face frame is different on every head of hair, and that is dependent on haircut, hair texture, hair length, and hair density. Now that I've finished off the 3 highlights at the neckline, I'm not going to tip these out. I'm going to leave them as they are. One thing you could do to enhance the overall end result is just add clear on there in the Clean Liquids range to create a really beautiful shine. So I might do that, but I'm going to move around to the very front face frame and connect the front face frame to the rest. So I'm going to keep highlighting back here until the density of hair is again full in this corner. I'm going to pivot from the second highlight. So I've done my first highlight here, and I'm going to start to pivot right away. So skinnier at the front and then thicker towards the back. That will increase the brightness around her face here. So remember here, I did a full tip. I want to make sure that I carry that through. So I'm going to over direct this tip out a little, and I'm going to do a full tip. So hold the hair at the longest point and then push all of the baby hair away. And I'm going to move around to this hair. If I do a full tip here, my color will be very bottom heavy. So I'm not going to do that. I'm actually going to weave this piece and then I'm going to tease. So I'm going to do a half tip. This is what I would consider the face frame for this head of hair. It does look like I put a lot of hair into the face frame, but for me, it's the focal point of any color in modern day coloring. So this will be different on every head of hair, like I said before, related to hair cut, hair texture, hair density, but this is what it is on this head of hair. Now that I've completed the face frame, I'm going to connect the back to the front. So I'm going to do that by adding in textural highlights through here and connecting all the way to the front. So whenever you're doing a textural highlight, you really want to make sure that the density follows through all the way to the ends, which it does here. I'm still going to push away some of that density in the root area and then blow my highlight up into the root. I'm going to keep working up the back of the head until I get to just below the crown area, and then I'll change where I'm highlighting from. I'm going to leave about 1 centimeter in between each section because the density of hair is very thick. So if I leave too much, your dimension will be not visible enough. If I do too much, it'll disappear as well. I finished highlighting through that back area just below the crown. I know it looks like I've left a lot of hair out, but I promise you, once we pull these highlights out and see the contrast, it will be really beautiful and it will blend out really, really well. So now I'm going to change where I'm highlighting from. I'm going to take my section horizontally parallel to her part line. So through this area here, I'm going to highlight, but I'm also going to do a really soft tip out. When I am creating these types of brunettes as well, with the internal highlights or the highlights that are horizontal, I tend to actually keep the root a lot lower than I did at the face frame. What that will help do is create a little more contrast to the face frame and maintain more depth in at the root. So this is the hair that I've left out in between that highlight. So I'm going to do a half tip. I don't want it to be too heavy because I do want to see depth in through here still. I'm going to tease that away. I'm going to keep working up to her part line, and I'm going to finish my last highlight on the part. So I'm going to leave about 1 centimeter of hair in between each of these highlights as well. And then I'm going to push away all the baby hairs. I finished off the first side. I'm going to jump onto the second side and repeat the exact same pattern and process. For the root, I'm going to use 501 and 4.3. For her mid color, I'm going to use 7.03. The end, I'm going to use 10.03 and 8.03. Hairline root, I'm also going to use 7.03. For every gloss, I use the No Knot leave-in conditioner. Whenever I'm doing my hairline color, I'll start skinny at the front and then go a little thicker towards the back. I'm going to tap the back and then apply my root shadow. Particularly on long hair, I will always do my root shadow in vertical sections. The reason I do this is because it's a lot quicker to apply and you're going against the direction the hair falls, so you're assisting yourself in getting a much more smoother, seamless blend. And now I'm going to go back through the hairline and apply the front of it. I do keep my hairline separate from the root the entire time. I then brush my root backwards to keep them separate the entire time. You don't have to do a mid if you don't want to. I prefer to, just I feel like I always regret not doing one. On the underneath, you can take it lower if you want to help create that like teardrop shape. So for the end, I'm going to make sure that I blend out that mid area. So just rinse the gloss and prep the hair with the O&M Smooth and Shine Shot. We rinse that out. This is our result so far on smooth hair. You can see how shiny the hair is. It is ultra shiny. You can see the blend of the color is absolutely perfect. The tone is gorgeous, sun-kissed. This is our end result. It looks so shiny and so beautiful. You can see all of the dimension throughout her color. I hope you enjoyed watching.